Do you want to see a real GED writing example to help you pass the GED writing section? Then you're going to want to stick around. Hi, this is Parker from Test Prep Champions to teach you how to pass the GED fast. You can get started by clicking subscribe down below. So in this video, I'm going to go through another GED writing example that was sent to me from a real GED test taker. We're going to go through it, and I want you to take away things from it that you can use in your writing to help you pass the test. So my voice is a little bit scratchy today, unfortunately, because I am getting over a cold, so I apologize in advance for that. Let's get right into it. So the prompt is based off of a passage from a workbook that unfortunately we can't show here on YouTube, but you just need to know that the writer of the passage explains reasons why a family should not own a pet, and the assignment is then to take a stand for or against the author's viewpoint and to back up your stance by using specific examples from the passage. So that's all you really need to know about the prompt here. So for a 5-paragraph essay, I recommend using this format, which is the introduction in 1 paragraph, the body paragraphs, there'll be 3 of them, and then 1 concluding paragraph, and this will come out to about 3 to 7 sentences per paragraph. And so to start off with, for the introduction, I recommend for GED test takers to start off with a topic sentence which just states the topic of the essay, and to then identify the 2 different viewpoints, so author A's position and author B's position. So on the real GED test, you're going to have 2 passages to read from, and they'll both have different viewpoints, and so it's good to acknowledge both viewpoints in the introduction. This prompt is a little bit different, but the same basic idea applies here. And then the most important part of the introduction is to state your position, or which position you think is best supported by the evidence in the passage. And that is also called a thesis statement, which is just a fancy word for that sentence, but that is probably the most important part of the introduction. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look at the test taker's writing here. So you say choosing whether or not to own a pet is an important decision for any family. So I highlighted this just to show that this is a really good topic sentence, so excellent job here. I know right away what the writing is about, so for those watching at home, take notes on how to do a good topic sentence here. And so then you go on to say, well, it may seem like owning a pet is easy. They can come with a lot of responsibilities. And so from this sentence here, I'm guessing that you're going to be writing about 2 different positions, both why families should own a pet and why they shouldn't. And I'm also guessing here that you're going to be arguing against owning a pet, but I think that we could make this more clear here. So I would suggest revising this slightly to acknowledge both positions, then I would make it more clear which position you're going to be arguing for. And so this is just one way you could do it. So I put here in brackets, same topic sentence, because I want you to start with the same topic sentence because you did a good job. And then, for example, you could change it to say something like, some believe that families should own a pet. In contrast, others believe that families should not own a pet. And the reason why you're doing this is just to acknowledge that there's 2 different views on the issue. And then you could make a thesis statement that says, however, the author's position that families should not own pets is strongest because of reasons X, Y, and Z, and then you would just plug in reasons from the piece. But you don't even necessarily need to say because of X, Y, and Z. You could just say, however, the author's position that families should not own pets is strongest, and end it there. Alright, so that's how you would do the introduction. So now let's take a look at your body paragraphs here. And so I recommend for a body paragraph to start it off with a topic sentence, and start that topic sentence with a transition word, and to then do an explanation, which would be 1 to 3 sentences in which you explain explain what you're talking about in the topic sentence here. And you can also do a refutation, in which you basically take a piece of evidence from the weaker essay on the GED test, and you want to pick a weaker evidence that contradicts your main point, and you want to show how it's weak evidence, basically. Now, you don't always have to do a refutation, but it can add to your essay. If your explanation goes for, I would say, 2 or 3 sentences, then you don't need to do a refutation, but it can make your essay stronger. So definitely look for spots to do that throughout your essays. Okay, so in your first body paragraph, you say, deciding to keep a family pet will mean more household chores. And so I've highlighted this because you have a good topic sentence here. So the only thing that I would change here is I would just add a transition word to the start of it. Other than that, this is a great sentence here. So basically, these are a list of some transition words that you could start a paragraph with, or you could use them for lists. So we see here first, second, third, next, in addition, also, lastly, in the first place, or in the second place, etc., etc. So what I've done here is I've just put the word first followed by a comma here. So I would change your first sentence to, first, deciding to keep a family pet will mean more household chores. And then I think that you would have a great topic sentence here. Your topic sentence was already very good, as I said, but I think it would help to add that transition word here, because those are always good. Why do I have the words to be highlighted twice here? Well, the reason is because I've highlighted this because this is written in the passive voice. Now, passive sentences make it harder to understand the subject of the sentence. So, for example, who has to take the pets out for walks? Who has to feed them? See how it's not completely clear? To improve the sentence, let's just change it to make it more clear who's doing what, and we're going to do that by using the active voice. So here's just an example of how you could do it. You could say, the owners must take pets out for walks, clean and care for their living space, and feed them daily. So that's just one example of how you could rewrite it to be more in the active voice rather than the passive voice. Okay, so let's move on here to body paragraph 2. So I've highlighted not to mention because I again want to compliment you here for starting off with a transition phrase, which is great, so you did a great job there. Now for those watching at home, I also want to highlight some other examples of good transition words that you could have started off the second paragraph with as well. So you could have used second, in addition, also, or in the second place, but the way you did it was fine. I just wanted to show those for the people at home so they get some ideas here of what else to start their body paragraphs with. So I've highlighted 2 thes here because you have having to go the veterinarian. So obviously this is just for practice, but on the real test, just make sure that you edit your work, and then everyone watching this, make sure you edit your work so that you don't have these repeated words like this, because you don't want to lose points that you should get. And so I also want to rewrite the word time consuming is one word here with a hyphen, so time hyphen consuming. And other than that, the points that you're making here are all very logical, so I think that you did a great job with this body paragraph. So good job with that. Okay, so now let's go on to 3. So again, I've also highlighted in addition because I think that you did a great job using a transition word here. So, or a transitional phrase, I should say here. So great job with that. Yeah, you've done that throughout this essay, except I think it was the first body paragraph. I wanted to add that in there, but I want to commend you on that. You're doing great with those. And so the other 2 things that I would change here are I would put a comma after the word pet before the word or. So you'll want to do that. And then I would also add one more sentence here because you have 2 sentences here. And so for your body paragraphs, you want to use at least 3 sentences. So anywhere from, they say 3 to 7, but I think 3 to 5 is good to aim for. So you want to make sure that you've got your sentences here. So just add on one more sentence. This might be a good place to do a refutation, or you can just extend this, just make your explanation a little bit longer and you'll have a fine job here. Okay, so looking at your conclusion here, again, amazing job by starting off with a transitional phrase in conclusion. That's great work here, so I highlighted that in yellow here. So for everybody watching, I really recommend that you start your conclusion with in conclusion, comma. Great way to do it, so good job there. And you're also doing a very, very strong summary of your main argument. What you say here that I've highlighted in green, it is best to avoid owning a family pet. So right off the bat here, in the conclusion, you're telling me exactly what your argument is here. I would just recommend making this just as clear in your introduction as you are in the conclusion. And so I highlighted saved, comma, could, because you don't need that comma there between the 2 words, so I'd want to get rid of that comma. And then also note here that when you have, like taking the family on vacation period, paying off bills, or just saving for your future here, I don't want you to get penalized for incomplete sentences or sentence fragments, so I want to make this into, we could do this in 2 different ways. We could modify this. We could either make one big sentence out of this, so let me show you how you could do that. So you could say here, but the time and money saved could be put to other uses like taking the family on vacation, paying off bills, or just saving for your future. Now the problem here would be that you've got a 2-sentence paragraph and you'd want to have at least 3 sentences here, so you would need to add another sentence to this. So I think that a better way to do it would just be to split this up into multiple smaller sentences. So you can do it this way. You could say both the time and money saved could be put to other uses like taking the family on vacation. Also, paying off bills would be a better use, period. Lastly, just saving for the future would also be more beneficial. And I think if you did it this way, I think this would be the best way to do it here. But this is just an example I came up with off the top of my head, but hopefully you're getting the idea here. But overall, great job with your conclusion and with your essay here. So your next step to pass GED writing is to check out my video on how to do the GED essay. It's the ultimate guide to it, a comprehensive overview. You'll want to watch that next. And you also want to check out my first example that I did on GED writing. Very similar to this one, but a little bit different. There's plenty to learn from that as well. So thank you so much for joining me here. This is Parker from Test Prep Champions to help you pass the GED fast. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you found this video helpful.